risked Jill's life. Now, how could you take that kind of chance?
I was saving her life.
You haven't done any surgery for how long? 18 months? 2 years?
Could have phoned another surgeon and sat down by her bed, watched her die while we waited for him to get here. He would have had a license, but Jill would have bled to death.
She deserves to have the best medical attention in the world, and she doesn't.
That's true. Unfortunately, the best surgeons in America aren't here. I am.
It's just a damn shame you weren't out at the beach house when Edmund was out there alone with Jill.
About that, we're in complete agreement. Excuse me.
If she dies, Seneca, I will hold you personally responsible.
Frank, there was really no choice. Seneca had to do the surgery.
Why wasn't she taken to a private hospital in the first place?
From what I can gather, Frank, is that they were afraid she wouldn't make it. So they took her to the nearest medical facility, which is nothing more than a glorified first aid station.
Come on. There's nothing to be gained in blaming Seneca. He's in enough trouble as it is, operating without a license.
Whatever we think of the man, Francis, he does care for Jill.
I know.
What's upsetting us all isn't the fact that Seneca did the surgery. It's that Jill is hurt in the first place, and that Edmund is dead.
And Seneca is feeling that as much as any of us.
He didn't take care of her. He didn't take care of our son. That's what's getting me.
Frank, it isn't anyone's fault.
It's not Seneca's fault. It's not your fault. It's no one's fault. Frank, it was an accident, a horrible accident.
It shouldn't have happened.
No, but it did. And right now, Seneca is hurting as much as we all are.
Has she shown any signs of coming around?
No, Dr. Bolek.
I'd like her to sleep till morning.
Yes, doctor.
She's going to have to deal with the death of her baby. I just as soon put that off as long as possible. Actually, she may never have to deal with it at all.
In today's episode, the role of Delia Ryan Coleridge will be played by Robin Milan.
I was so worried. I kept ringing that bell and no one answered. I thought something happened to little Johnny.
He's asleep. We both were.
Did I wake you up? Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what's wrong. I've just been so upset since this whole thing with Edmund and Jill. And, oh, I just wanted to see if little Johnny was all right.
You could have phoned.
What?
Oh, forget it.
It's just terrible, isn't it? Just awful. Have you heard anything else yet?
Look, I don't know. I guess Maeve would call if, something happened.
Yeah. Maeve and Johnny up in Washington, and Frank's swearing in, and then the next thing I hear, they're at Long Island someplace.
Well, Ray Woodard flew him up in her private jet, and then her car picked him up at the airport.
Yeah. Well, that's It's kind of a nice way to live, I guess. It's going to be a long time before I'll be able to live like that.
Why don't you go over to the hospital if you really want to know what's going on?
Oh, no, but that would be interfering. Flowers from West Leonard?
And boxes of candy and forgive me notes.
I don't believe it. After the column that he wrote about Frank, I mean, with all those criminals, and you'll allow these in your house?
Well, they came today, and flowers in this house today seemed like a good idea.
Yeah, but from West Leonard.
I like roses.
You know, you are amazing. I don't know how you get away with the things that you do. I could never do them. I mean, things like having an enemy of the family, gifts from him all over your house, and the planning development thing. I mean, how do you do it? How do you?
Well, the secret is plenty of sleep.
Sleep? How could you sleep at a time like now?
Dee, working 8 hours a day on the job and spending nights working on this project for Frank, plus having this family tragedy to deal with, believe me, you get sort of tired.
Oh, and, you'd like to go back to bed now? Okay, well, I'll be leaving in just a few minutes. Now, this, little plan of, Frank that he's working on?
Well, I'm...
Is it a project, or what is it?
Yes. Funny you should ask, because... Do you remember that woman, Ethel Green, who, was such a help to Frank in this district during his election? Well, she had a little problem, and she brought it to Frank, who didn't have any time to deal with it, so I volunteered.
Oh, and exactly what sort of problem is this?
Well, there's 5 buildings owned by the C&P Realty Corporation, and these people have been without heat or hot water for 6 weeks.
Oh, those poor people.
Yeah, poor and cold people. I've been talking to them, advising them of their legal rights. And I suggested that the only way they can force the landlord into fixing that boiler is if they go ahead and start a rent strike.
Oh, and this is what you've been doing, huh?
Yeah, they can win. Well, if they fight back, all they got to do is just organize.
And does the C&P Realty, do they know what you're doing?
Oh, yeah. We had a visit from one of their people. He came in, huffing and puffing, throwing his weight around, threatening everybody by saying, You people just keep what you're doing. You're going to have big trouble.
And I take it you got very, very scared.
Oh, yes. Well, I was apprehensive. But when I got back here, that passed.
Yeah. You felt safe here, huh? You've always felt safe here. The problem is, what's going to happen next time you have to go uptown, huh? With those big people.
Oh, look, I'm not a total fool.
No.
Next time I go uptown, at night, it won't be alone.
Oh, and are you going to find some other cuckoo to go with you?
Yes, Jack Finelli.
Jack Finelli is going to ride shotgun with you when you go uptown.
Uh-huh. He volunteered. As a matter of fact, Dee, he insisted.
Well, you're kidding. I bet Mary isn't going to like this one.
Why were they out there at the beach house in the middle of winter alone? Was there a fight? Did Seneca drive them into going out there?
We don't know.
Nobody seems to know anything. Now, that is very convenient.
I wish I knew where John and Patrick went.
Do you want me to see if we can find them?
Yes, darling, would you? I think that maybe the whole family should be together.
Roger.
Francis,
Yes, Ma.
is it Seneca that you're angry with?
Now, who else would it be?
Well, I was thinking that you might be angry and must be angry at losing your son.
That's right, Ma.
Know that Seneca truly is not responsible and that he did all he could for Jill.
I know.
And the baby's dying. I mean, that was no one's fault. Not Seneca's, not Jill. It was an accident, son. There was some sort of fire, they think, and it sort of set off a gas explosion.
Oh, I failed. I really failed.
Darling, there wasn't anything that you could have done any more than anyone else.
I can be realistic. I'll never be a father to Edmund. And there won't be any more chances.
Not in this world.
You know, I know this sounds crazy and all. Even in spite of everything, even with Seneca pushing ahead with the adoption, I never for a minute doubted that in the end, I was going to be Edmund's father.
You were his
I don't know how that was going to happen. I just knew it would.
Son, you were his father. No one ever denied that.
See, I had this picture in my head of little John and Edmund together, growing up together, and I would be there with them.
I prayed for that.
But I wasn't there this afternoon, was I? No. No, Senator Ryan was down in Washington and loving every glorious minute of it. While his son, while Edmund.
Francis, you were been elected to a very high office, a most honorable office. You're entitled to take pleasure in that.
I never thought it would last. I felt sure that Jill would see that Seneca was a mistake for her, and it would be over. And then
Jillian and Edmund would be with you.
Yes.
And you'd be able to make up for the times that you missed.
Yes.
And you'd be able to tell him that you loved him. And that you always loved them. Even when you were apart. That's it, son. I've seen you cry before. Go ahead, it's all right. I mean, there's nothing is more painful than the death of a child. Cry for Edmund. Cry because you won't have the joy of watching him grow up, and neither will I. Cry because there's so much that you wanted to do for him, but for God's sake, don't cry because you weren't there. That's something that was not in your hands.
Oh, my. I find it very hard to believe that.
What? That there are reasons why things happen, and that there is purpose to life.
I don't feel that. I feel sad and bitter and angry.
Give it time, son. Give it time.
I was going to be a father to Edmund and a husband to Jill. And no, that will never be. I've lost something I'll never, ever get back.
He knew that you loved him. Francis, he knew.
What's Mary got to be mad about?
I just don't think that Mary's gonna like the idea of you dragging Jack through those kind of neighborhoods.
Oh, well, come on, Dee. In case you haven't noticed, Jack is perfectly capable of looking after himself. Besides which, he could write a column of the truth of what's going on up there and just blow the lid right off the whole thing.
People don't always like it when you tell them the truth.
Well, I don't care if they like it, because I cannot live my life worrying about whether people get mad at me or my friends. Though I will admit that it'll be nice to have somebody go up there with me next time.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be.
Besides, Jack's good company. He makes me laugh.
What?
Yeah, and he helps me see things more clearly sometimes.
Jack Finelli. We're talking about the Jack that was married to Mary.
What?
Oh, it's just that he hasn't exactly been a barrel full of monkeys to me lately.
Maybe you two aren't on the same wavelength.
It's just that he's mean, Siobhan. He's very...
Oh, come on, Dee. He's got a temper, but he isn't mean.
I just don't think you know him very well.
Oh, I think I know him very well, and he's a very kind and sensitive man.
Sensitive?
Uh-huh.
Well, he's very nice looking. He knows it. But that doesn't give him the right to be able to say anything he wants to anyone. Now, do you think he's very nice looking?
Sure.
Now, under that exterior is a person that is too much trouble to be around. And,
that's the dumbest thing.
I think that you should stay away from him, Siobhan. I really mean it.
I don't think she's gonna make it.
She has a chance, Dr. Bolak.
Yeah. Guess I've given her that.
She'll be all right. You'll see.
Thank you.
Excuse me. I'll only be a moment.
Maybe I didn't try. Maybe she couldn't see me. Maybe fear made her go. I don't know. Maybe so. Then came you. We were two of a kind, finding room to grow. Well, don't just stand there, say hello. Hello again. This time it's our turn. Fate says amen. And I say okay. Remember when we waited our turn? Hello again. Today's the day. No explanation. No time to wonder why. Today we fly, and that's all we can try for. surprise. It's our turn. I don't know when. I felt so open, so easy.
Don't die.